G'day, and we're Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fairly well.
Up nice and early because we're getting ready for Invictus.
Well,
Yeah.
technically, you were up really early getting ready for Invictus.
Yeah.
I still got to put our normal time for our IFC, but it's the last normal rise and shine for the next couple of weeks. So
yeah,
yes.
I'm not feeling the best already. I haven't even got there yet, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah. No sleep for 2 weeks usually for us, but at least we're getting a little bit of 1 day break between them this time around, so I will get a bit of breather. But it's just holding that pattern. My sleep condition doesn't like that one, so yeah.
Indeed.
All right.
So Firebird is the word. What do you think the topic is going to be today?
Birds.
Birds. Oh yeah.
No. You were saying it's kind of cool because I hide the word fire there, so it's just bird as the word, which I think is pretty good. But so what I've heard about this one from other people, that they always come to us beforehand and they say it's just all about the ships. So yeah, it's apparently about the ones at Invictus. So yeah, I don't know what else to expect. I think we kind of already know because you and I have already seen them all. So I'm just interested to see their take on it. And this could be interesting. So let's kick it off.
It'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I'll be honest. I'm more interested to see information about the MPUV and what that heralds for the MPUV down the track.
I think that says more about you than anything else. But yeah, all right, let's go.
It's that time each May where we celebrate the might and majesty of the UEE vehicle fleet, and this week we're exploring the gold standard work of one of the rarest vehicles in the game, the debut of a new design sure to set the verse on fire, and a long-requested variant finally making its debut at this year's event. It's Invictus Launch Week Part 1, so let's stop yapping and get to showing. I'll be here when you get back.
I don't know if you noticed that, Eric, the way he described that. Then he actually considers the Firebird a new ship, not a variant.
Yeah,
did you pick up on that?
I did notice that.
So
I did, and the long-awaited variant, or the long-requested variant, I think is the MPUV.
I think it's the Medivac.
Actually, it could be the Medivac. Yeah, I think both of them. They both kind of hit that mark, don't they?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised that they consider it a new ship, because to me it's clearly a variant, and it is a variant from a developer perspective because of that bug I found when we were looking at it. So yeah. And
even the look, it's a well, even the Raven was a variant
of the Saber. So yeah.
So
yeah. All right.
So the Saber Raven was introduced at CitizenCon 2017 in Frankfurt. It was an exclusive deal with Intel. It is a EMP interdictor fighter, carries 2 EMP generators in its belly, has an additional computer on board for helping do data running, and is really just a cool looking ship. You can see the resemblance to the Saber, but it is its own unique shape. Performance-wise, over the years, because of its exclusive...
Say again?
I like that he actually said it's got that extra computer for data running.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time in recent memory, I've actually heard them confirm what we've been saying.
Yeah. And I think that's why they considered it not a variant, because it's essentially a modified body. And I think it would be the same thing with the Firebird, because that's another modified body again.
Yeah, I suppose it's a modified body of a Raven because it filled in those holes. But given that, let's say, the Firebird is stealth, and the Saber Raven had the holes cut out the wings to increase the stealth, I'd have thought that if instead of actually let the holes out, if that's helping with stealth, why put them back into a stealth ship? That's just me.
Yeah. Well, again, like you and I said, it's somewhere between the two, the Firebird. But anyway.
Nature is sort of never really peaked in terms of popularity, but the owners that have it love it, and you always see them at ship meets in the game.
Did you say you love it?
I do, but I think his comment there is a bit of BS.
Yeah,
it's never been a popular shipping game because no one can buy it.
I've got it because it's rare, but it's not my favorite ship, and I wouldn't even say it's in my top 10. It's just I got it because it was rare. That's the only reason I got it. I wouldn't say I love it either, not by a long shot. It's got some massive issues.
I love the concept of it. I love the idea of it. I love the fact that it's a small scout / info runner. I love the way it's stealthy. I love the way the EMPs work not to be an offensive tool, but actually a defensive tool when you're sprung. You zap your enemy and then you P-bop. It's a totally different approach to the way a fighter would, the fighters normally work.
It'll get its heyday once it actually has a lot of its features online, and that's the biggest problem with it at the moment. It just doesn't have all its bells and whistles.
But I still find, just to say that it's not a popular ship in the verse, it's a misnomer, because it's only not popular because you can't buy it. There's no other way to get it. You've either got it now, or you find a dusty coupon somewhere which enables you to get it. But that's it. You know, so... but I think you're right. You find it turn up at ship meets all the time.
Intel actually has been giving them away recently. DePolitz has been encouraging them to give it away at conventions and stuff. So we might see a bit of a renaissance, hopefully, and we get to see more of them come out. All right.
Yeah.
Recently, we completed Gold Standard on the base Saber, which highlighted some of the issues with the Raven itself. It has sort of been left behind in terms of art and gameplay upgrades over the years.
You don't say!
We set about gold standing the Raven and utilising some of the work we did on the Saber to help benefit the Raven.
So we've recently done a pass on the Saber Raven. It gets referenced a lot as gold standard. What I think for me personally, the way I look at it is kind of our current standard. It's bringing a ship that we've done work on in the past and kind of ticking off all the current kind of features to make it compatible with everything we now do on our current release ships. The main pass that we needed to do on the Raven was to add all of its functional component bays. So now, rather than it just being a shell, and you can't really do much with it, each of the component bays now have a animating opening door. All of the components are accessible by the player, and that really just gets the vehicle ready for the next stage in Star Citizen gameplay. With the
that's nice.
Network work coming online.
Yeah, they're all nice. That's
the debut of a new design shirt.
God damn it, I clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, you were saying?
But I think the niceness of it is the fact that they're actually, we did the Saber, and now we've done the Raven, and that's something we didn't know they'd been doing.
Yeah. But again, it speaks to that not really being a variant thing. Because, or not really being a
variant.
Yeah, no, sorry, not being a standalone. It is a variant,
Yeah. And I think you can see the thought process. We updated the Saber, we've pulled the Raven up to standard, and now we're using everything we've got from both of those to create a new variant.
Absolutely agree with that, 100%. Yeah.
And you can't really do much with it. Each of the component bays now have a animating opening door. All of the components are Star Citizen gameplay. With the resource network work coming online and the ability to interact with the individual ship items, that ship is now kind of ticked off, ready, good to go. Some of the other work that was needed as a kind of byproduct of bringing it up to current day standards is working on the dashboard and the interactions on there. So now the buttons are all interactive, and really it's just about giving some love to some of our older vehicles and bringing them up to kind of our current day standard.
So at this Invictus, we're happy to announce that there is a new sibling to the Raven, and it's called the Saber Firebird. So the Saber Firebird is a missile-based fighter, much...
So I have to ask, because they called it a sibling to the Raven.
Sibling, yeah.
Does that also mean it's a sibling to the Saber, or is it just a variant of the Raven? Like, the way he worded that was really weird.
It is. Because the way they're talking about the Raven, even though it's a Saber, is it's a totally different ship. And so that gets me...
How can it have the same name? It's like saying the Vanguard Warden or Vanguard Sentinel, and then all of a sudden you're calling it the Sentinel. I don't know. Keep your... Like, if you're going to be consistent, be consistent. Don't just break your own rules and shit. Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird. It's as if they're saying the Firebird is a variant of a Raven, but it's not a variant of the other.
But it's got parts of the Saber on it. Like, it regains the back, tail fins.
Back holes and,
and the holes come resealed in. Like, it's a cross between the two. So, I don't know. Again, I think, it's speaking marketing to trying to sell to people that want a Raven that can't get a Raven. That's what it's sounding like to me. But all right.
Like some of our other ships like the Talon. It trades pure gun power for missile firepower. It is based on the Raven chassis, but it has quite a few little visual tweaks that when you put them side by side, you'll notice that it is a completely different art style. And its main firepower is from its belly-mounted bespoke missile launcher, which holds 12 size 3 missiles.
So in the Saber series, we have the base Saber, the Saber Comet, and the Saber Raven. And really, we wanted to kind of build on the Raven's chassis. It's a very unique design, and we really felt like we could do more than what we've currently done with that vehicle chassis. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that it feels different enough from the base Raven. So we did quite...
Actually, I just noticed they're in the kind of passing. They're different fins again. They're actually their own unique fins, like they're shorter.
Yeah.
Those two back tail fins are shorter, because if I play it, watch.
Obviously, we wanted to make sure that...
You can see they're I thought
they're
they were the same.
But
they're not.
Also, look at the engines on the regular Saber. I think that there is a ground where I can say these are, and I think he was right there when he was saying the Raven chassis, because you look at it, the engine mount and everything is totally different, and so even though they're Sabers.
But isn't that what a variant should be? Not just a color texture change. Like it should be anything that's the base chassis, but then modified type of thing. I don't know.
But I'm hearing them say that even though it's a Saber Raven, it's not the same chassis. That's what I'm hearing them say. You can see the language.
No, that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that they've taken one ship and 3D modified it to be different enough that it can be its own. That's what I'm hearing. Again, and a really simple example is the one I've laid out here, which is where the tail fins are different.
Yeah.
So one's got none, one's got a small one, and one's got a larger one.
But have a look at the engines on the Saber to the right compared to the engines on the Raven. Massively different. That's the one to the left.
More than what we've currently done.
Yeah, that's the Saber, but the engines on these two are exactly the same.
Yeah, because one's a Saber and one's a Saber.
The other big difference here is the gun placement. So one has the same gun placement as the Saber, because if you go over to the Saber, it's got
with that vehicle chassis. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that it feels different
enough.
It's got both those gun placements where they've got one or the other. Yeah.
But look at the engine size.
Yes, you've said that 3 times. I got it the first time.
You didn't acknowledge it. Sorry, I didn't realise.
Yeah.
Okay. All
right.
Making sure.
From the base Raven. So we did quite a lot of work. The actual full kind of top of the vehicle has pretty much been kind of remodeled. The main spine of the vehicle has a bunch of changes on it. When we looked at it and kind of decided what is really successful and what we want to build on, we really felt like the Raven is very, very sleek, whereas the base Saber had these really nice kind of like tail fins and a nice kind of back end to it. So really we kind of want to bring a bit of that inspiration back into the Firebird. So the main kind of visual change that you'll notice on the rear of the vehicle, it's got a slightly new thruster, and it's got these nice sort of wings that complement the rear tail end. A lot of kind of more subtle changes have been done on the vehicle as well. When you kind of first look at them side by side, we really wanted it to be recognizable that it was built on the Saber chassis. So we've kept a lot of the key shapes, but as you start to kind of like get into the details, you'll notice the wingtips are different. The kind of big cutouts have had some work done to them. And we've decided to add some extra geometry there just to kind of strengthen up the vehicle a bit as it is. I think the base Raven, being like an interdiction ship, really it was kind of focusing on agility and being able to chase down targets, whereas this being slightly more kind of combat orientated, we really wanted a bit more strength in the vehicle as a whole. As you kind of go to the underside of the ship, that's where the big functionality change comes. So now in the belly of the ship, we've got a big missile rack, so it all opens up and then we can launch the missiles out from underneath the Firebird.
Compared to a lot of our other ships that have missile racks just bolted under the wings, or bespoke ones mounted into the hull that are sort of firing forwards. This is canted at a downwards angle, so you get a really nice visual when they fire down and curve up. And also we've adjusted the missile controller on it, so rather being restricted to a set amount, it can fire up to a complete row at a time, so you get to see a huge volley of row by row come out. So we have a lot of fighters in the game, but we don't have a lot that their main focus is missiles.
This is what I'm most interested in, because I wanted to hear them kind of talk about why would I want this, right? Because I'm sitting here looking at my Saber, I'm sitting here looking at my Raven, and I'm getting that whole Talon Shrike thing again, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't see why I'd want to give up the guns just to get missiles, right? So, mate, I don't know, might just be me.
A very limited number of missiles, like.
Well, again, firing 6 at a time. What the hell are you shooting? Because again, you're usually a fighter-on-fighter scenario, right? What are you going to shoot that needs 6 missiles to take it down?
Yeah, if it's 6 different targets you can lay in, then that's massive. And I can remember the Connie used to be a bit like that. You know, you could pick 2 or 3 targets and fire half a dozen missiles, and they'd all go off.
Yeah.
Or you could fire. I remember, you know, there was times you could fire 24 missiles all at a time, or fire everything. You know, fire everything, and the whole string just. But. And I know that died for a while because of the spam, just the way it cluttered the game up and slowed the game. So is this also indicating that the game's performance has been increased so it can actually cope with that?
I think there is a place for a stealth missile ship. I just think it's not going to be everyone's favourite cup of tea, I think is what I'm trying to say. So we'll see.
Well, you did notice the first target that got blown up was a ballista.
Yep.
So...
Well, you and I thought the curve thing might be for ground targets, but it's just disappointing. I would have liked to have seen it.
I know a lot of people are saying, a lot of people on the... Go on, sorry.
A little bit more of a niche, you know, so it gave it a reason to exist, not just another fighter. And I guess it's not quite just another fighter. I can see that stealth missile thing. But again, couldn't you do this on, say, a Hornet Ghost? You know?
Well, a lot of people pointed out that a lot of the ships have that angled missile rack. You know, and it's true. The Connie has it on its top rack. Other ships have the angled. Certainly for the missile bay on this, given that the regular Saber has a size 4 rack in its belly, which you could swap out. Having one that can take 12 size 3s really meant you needed a bespoke system and a different way of storing the missiles.
Yeah. Might have been
the down.
I was going to say,
the downward
hopium on our.
Yeah. Oh, look, the downward angle does make it easier to target ground. You know, to fire down at ground vehicles. Is it made for that? No, but does it make it easier? Probably. Having a stealth ship able to sneak up on them, I think, gives an advantage, just as it will on ships. So. But I would have liked to have seen a proper ground attack fighter.
Well, hopefully we get one down the track then, because I think
You're listening, John? You're listening, John?
I think
proper warthog.
Yeah, I think it's kind of needed because we don't really have anything specifically for targeting ground targets other than the bombers, and I actually think like, man, for me that speaks Gladiator. Like if the Gladiator had anyway.
Well, the Gladiator does have size 3s as well. You know, it's got its size 9s or size 5s, but it's also got the other torpedoes or missiles on the wings as well. So
you know what I mean, though. Like
it's just slow and clunky.
So maybe torpedoes are good at shooting ground targets. I don't know. I see missiles doing that as well, but we'll see. All right.
Yeah.
I could mention that the Talon Shrike is pretty much the main missile-based fighter that is a light to medium category. So this adds another option into the mix. And it also builds on all the work we did for the Saber Raven Gold Standard to help get a brand new ship. In terms of who is the Firebird for, just like anyone who enjoys combat, this is a ship for you, especially if you prefer to sort of not engage direct in dogfights and sort of lurk on the periphery of combat and help chip away at the targets. So that's the Saber Firebird, available at Invictus. We're looking forward to see the reception of it and letting a new generation of backers experience that classic silhouette with a revitalized in-game performance.
Did you consider doing a Pontiac Trans Am Firebird paint for this?
When we came up with the name of the Firebird, we did, instantly think of some vehicle inspirations, should we call it? But no.
Smokey and the Bandit?
No, Smokey and the Bandit.
I hate you.
Mutual.
Yeah, I love this guy.
So, now, in the top 3 questions that I get... No,
there you go. You going to say?
One of the things I noticed there was this is a ship for people who like to be on the peripheries of a combat and chip away at the enemy. So for those who don't like to be in your face, up close, seeing it, the way the combat is pushing us, this ship's for those.
I know.
Do you want the current combat?
12 missiles just doesn't seem like enough. And
no.
it was kind of like on the strike too. The strike almost felt like a kamikaze plane because you just kind of like shoot your bunch of missiles, which takes you 30 seconds to a minute, and then what do you do then? You know, you're kind of done.
Well,
like it's
I think the big difference between this and the Strike's missiles are significantly smaller. They're also dumbfire. This has half a loadout, but they're size 3, so they're almost one size smaller than the biggest anti-ship or anti-fighter, anti-missile ordnance.
Yeah, and
you've got 12 of them. So 12 on a fighter is not too bad. I know the Cutlass can have a mass, but for a standard fighter, that's a lot.
So yeah, it is a lot of missiles for a standard fighter, and I think probably the thing it does have over the Strike too is, as you said, it's a bigger ship and a bigger payload, and it still has the kind of bigger guns as well.
And they're targeted.
So yeah, and they're targeted. So it's kind of it is the bigger Strike, essentially.
Yeah.
And it would speak to those Strike people, but I think I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm sitting here looking at my Raven, and I'm sitting here looking at the Saber, and I'd rather the Saber or the Raven because they're not this weird in between. And I can see myself doing data running in that ship on the Raven, and 2 MPs. There's nothing that's got 2 MPs and data running, and it's still got 2 guns like the Firebird's got. And then the Saber is just all guns, so it can just out-sustain a Firebird. If you can get past those 12 missiles, you're going to win, And at the moment, missiles are just not in the best place, are they? So,
But I think it does tie in with what John was saying. You've got it now gives you full gun mount, a mixed gun missile mount, and then a full-on, I suppose, defensive EMP, 2 guns, data runner. So you do have 3 different gameplays for those 3 ships.
Yep.
Or those 3 variants. So,
as I said earlier, there is a place for it. A ninja missile, well, not a ninja, a stealth missile boat type of thing. So yeah, I can see it. All right,
I can see it, but I agree with your points. I'd rather a Raven or a.
Well, it's
or
like
just a straight
it's
Saber.
like it's essentially like any fighter. Like, there's so many fighters right now. You can pick the one that you really like, and there's this now and release type mentality, but there's also your style. You might not be into stealth, so you'd go for the Hornet Ghost over this, as an example. I don't know. It's just tit for tat. I think the water's getting a bit muddied around fighters. I just think there's too many. But that's my personal opinion.
If we look at the really unique fighters, there's very few. And I'm talking not the things like the Vanguard, but we've got the Saber Raven, which is a stealthy data runner. You've got the Hornet Ghost and the Hornet, the one that does the command and control. The radar, the tracker.
Yeah.
But they're really I can't really think of other different.
That's probably where the Firebird and Shrike do come in. They are just different.
They are different, and they have a missile variants. But so there's very few differences to those base fighters.
Yeah. Well, then you get weird things too. Like, do you consider a Mantis to be a fighter?
No.
It's technically, what is it then?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's got guns on it. It's solo. It's QED. Yes, it is more utility, but it's highly linked to combat. So
it is highly linked to combat. I'd put it more as a combat support, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's why you see things.
Interdiction.
That's why you see things like the Antares come in, because that's the one that falls in the gap. It's between the Mantis and a combat
and a regular fighter. And that's another one that is one of those more unique fighters. So and I think that's kind of what they're trying to fill here with the Firebird to flesh out those choices and ranges. But
and just like what you and I are saying about there being a need for a ground missile tactical ground attacker, I can see them doing a variant of that too, so to speak. So you have the normal version of the ship that's just guns, kind of like the Firebird, and the Raven. So you have one that's just all it does is shoot things on the ground, and then one that does a couple on the ground and a couple of guns, and then the other one's that's just all guns. So you could do it with a whole new ship again.
Yeah.
Just depends where they really want to take it.
Yeah, well, I always look at the Ares and think the Ares is really a ground attack craft. It really does pick up that idea of, the World War II planes where they put a massive 75mm gun on the ships. But
do you mean the Scorpius? Because I would have to argue that the Antares is specifically space-based because of the QED.
Ares.
Ares. Sorry.
The big massive gun on the front.
I heard Antares. My bad. All right. Yep. Okay.
Number 1 and 2 are when and where are the Banu Merchantman and Endeavour. The third one is where is my Ursa medical version. So we're finally proud to present the RSI Ursa Medivac.
Yeah, because that's the one they really wanted you to focus on.
So where are you going to use the Medivac? It is designed for use in a sort of combined arms ground assault scenario.
When you kind of think about all the different gameplay loops we have and all the different ways that our players like to explore the universe, we have a lot of air support. We have the Pisces, we have med bays in our big ships, but we don't really have anything that's ground vehicle based that can kind of be that response unit to really kind of get people out of trouble, to come in and heal our players.
You have people on the ground, in vehicles, in grav-lev bikes, on foot, assaulting a location such as a distribution centre. Ultimately, people get injured and killed, and they don't want to respawn back.
Now visioning like a Pulse or a Dragonfly with a sidecar, and it's a bed.
Yeah, I was thinking,
just the way he said that, and I'm just like, yeah. The whole donkey in World War II thing. That's the way my mind went really quick. I was just like, yeah, sidecar, bed, awesome. But yeah.
Yeah, I could see, I could see the a Medivac bike with just a paramedic with these tools on it.
Yeah.
Rather than
But that's just a regular Dragonfly or something like that. I think, look, honestly, for me, this Medvac, it's not the Medvac, it's the ships that this gives utility to.
I think he's about to say, just based on the way it was going, that they don't want to keep having to respawn far away, and so we've got this.
Yeah. But it's
so
just...
Are you... But that raises the question.
So if you've been in it, though, it is really just an Ursa, right? It's just Ursa that's got a medical bed, just like the Pisces and the Cedar, right? So for me, it's the utility. It's not. It's a little bit like the Nautilus with the mines. It's not the ship itself. It's the mines and the ability to go switch into another ship. It's the ability just to take this and add that utility to whatever you put it in.
Yeah, but he's about to say, I think, that people don't want to have to respawn far away and come back, and this enables you to do that. So that's saying, I want to know, are you saying this is a complete change you're doing to the way the medbeds work? Are you saying the Tier 3 medbeds can actually respawn all the time for that shorter distance I mentioned in Spectrum the other day?
That was what was...
Or was it just a...
That was what was implied, Algared, in the post.
Yep. But... Is it something that's going to remain going forward, or is it just something that's going to be a temporary fix for that patch? And that raises the question: what do I need the other tier med beds for?
Because they can repair bigger, more serious injuries as well, and they also go further. So an Endeavour can sit way further back, and I don't know if you've realised, 20 kilometres is within the visual range of all things at the moment. 25 Ks is the max range. So it means that's got to sit within range, knowing you can respawn. They will go for that first, rather than go for you.
Yep. Just like in MMOs where you take out the healers first.
So the Cuddy Red, the Pisces C8R, and this are all going to be primary targets, because I'm going to take those out so you can't come back. But then as soon as you go up to an Apollo or an Endeavour and you get to Tier 2, or you get to a character that's got a Tier 2...
out of range,
Exactly. Right? And then obviously the advantage there is that, you've got to move a little bit out to find them, and they're going to be easier to find than the Tier 1, because the Tier 1's going to be even further away.
Yep. So I can see that. It's a bit like the old Daok cleric. You'd keep him at the main entrance to the PvP world, because his buffs would actually be eternal, and then they changed it so you had to lug him around with you. So okay, got it.
All right.
at their hubs or at hospitals, or even in sort of a parent mothership a long way away. You need something that can keep up with the assault, and that's where the Medivac sits.
So I heard that they designed this for the distribution centers. That's what I just heard.
Distribution centers, yep.
Yeah.
Outposts, any ship that can hold it, yep.
Yep.
It fills that gap in our lineup that allows the players to be able to go out, explore our universe, and have less concerns about some of the activities they're getting up to, knowing that they've got a medical vehicle on call nearby that can kind of get them out of a bit of a sticky situation. Exterior-wise, the main kind of big difference is going to be the delivery.
So the Medivac will come with its own medical-themed default paint, as well as additional paints, and these will be applicable to the base Ursa as well.
Other than that, the kind of main changes that we've done is just really giving it a bit of a lift up to our current standards. So we've got proper interaction panels now for the side entrance and the rear entrance. And then the biggest change really is on the rear of the vehicle. The ramp or the rear door previously split in the middle and opened up, but that doesn't really make sense when you think of a medical vehicle. You want to be able to ease the transition in as easy as possible. So it's got a proper kind of rear ramp on it now. The door folds down and just allows much easier access into the rear of the vehicle. Inside, it's all new. It feels very clean and clinical. Our artist that worked on it, Hadi, he's done like a fantastic job of really bringing up the kind of the level of detail, making it really feel like a purpose-built space. On the left-hand side, you've got a weapons locker that also has storage for your med guns and your utility items. We've then got a clean sink area. It feels very clinical and clean. And then as you move towards the front of the vehicle, you've got an extra seat. Looking at kind of current ambulances and medical vehicles, you generally have your patient and then somewhere for the person that is kind of doing that treatment to be. We've got the medical terminal, where it allows you to treat the player or the patient. And then right at the front, we've got all the component bays and everything else that's needed for making the vehicle work.
So the big feature of the RSI Ursa Medivac is, of course, the med bed in the back. It is a tier 3 med bed, and the way med beds work in the game is changing. Tier 3 historically did not allow respawn on them. We're changing that to allow respawn, but at a much reduced distance from the vehicle. So you really need to keep this vehicle up with the attack to get the maximum use out of it.
We took a lot of inspiration from some of our other kind of med bays on our other vehicles, and generally, we just try to think about if you're trying to treat someone that's been injured, what do you need, what's available for you. Obviously, we looked at ambulances and real-life inspiration.
That change is not exclusive to the Medivac. That is an across-the-board change. So ships such as the C8R Pisces and Cutlass Red will also benefit from that. But of course, those are much larger targets in a combat scenario, so you would want to keep them a little bit further away. So that's the Ursa Medivac. It is a great support vehicle for ground vehicle players, and especially those who want to support.
I just thought of something too, Algared, by putting this on a vehicle and you're at a combat zone or whatever and you're respawning on it, it's harder for them to fight because they can't see it. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind, where if you can see a Cutlass Red or you can see a Pisces C8R, you know it's there. This you can kind of, just that little subtle difference.
It is a subtle difference. Yeah. I always got the impression the Pisces wasn't that much bigger than an Ursa. I don't know why.
They're comparable. They're comparable in size.
So if you've got a Pisces parked 20 kilometres away and an Ursa parked 20 kilometres away, I would have thought they were fairly close. But I get what he's saying. My concern is not necessarily with the gameplay itself, but the idea that the regen tech and the way you registered your core stuff and the way the sphere worked for that regen stuff, it's supposed to be chunky. It's supposed to be available in hospitals, and that was part of the reasoning why it wasn't on the smaller ships and why they couldn't do that. Where's all that material and where's all that component stuff and that lore aspect being stored? And so I've got questions. I like the idea, but I've still got questions, and I'm not sure.
I know this is going to scare you, Algared, but they can change the lore.
I know they can change the law, but It's just one of those things I'm concerned about.
And they will, and they have, and they'll do it again.
Yeah, they have changed the law. They've said small ships can do it. They've put air shields on. That's the same thing they did with air shields. Air shields are supposed to queue up so much energy. They can only be on carriers and stations, and we see them on smaller ships. So,
all right.
So, yeah.
Other more hostile engagements. And I didn't mean to imply that we picked this over doing the Merchantman or the Endeavour, but a lot of people ask me this. Every single event in Reddit spectrum. So where's the Medivac? So it's here now.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Saber Raven finally gets a little...
So I think I've just learned, Algared, we have to get a whole army of people, the entire cult of the Endeavour, and just keep asking John, where's the Endeavour? And eventually, we'll get the Endeavour. That's what I just heard. He's just...
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's the plan, Algared. We're just going to push people to ask for it. And if we ask, we get what we want. That's what John just told us.
Yep. Everyone asks for the Endeavour. Yeah. Get the Endeavour.
Get it sooner.
Okay.
Scream and rant and rave like little kids, and you'll get things sooner. That's what John has just told us all.
John has just told us we have to act like 3-year-olds. Yes. Have a tantrum.
Crazy. I would never have done that, John. But thanks, John, for letting us all know. Yeah.
Well, the love and attention it's needed for some time. That the Saber Firebird is here with a host of missile-laden destruction alongside with it. And that the Ursa Medivac is rolling up with a fantastic change to how medbeds work and new liveries for all Ursas to enjoy. Now, don't forget to tune into this year's Invictus All Vehicles Roundtable tomorrow. We'll have some of the folks that make ships possible on to discuss all aspects of vehicle life in the verse, and then come on back next week for Invictus Part 2 for even more new vehicle goodness. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Invictus Part 2.
Yeah, more vehicles. So I imagine that's going to be the Retaliator and modularity. I hope it's modularity. And that's what I'm hoping we'll find more about the MPUV. Is it just that, or is it...
Well, the only ones that would be left would be Aegis and Drake.
Yeah, well, we've got the two vehicles at least. We've got the Retaliator rework and modularity, and hopefully the MPUV,
which they didn't even talk about. They didn't even talk about it.
And you got both, but I think both of those ships, certainly the MPUV and the Retaliator, they certainly cry out modularity.
Okay, so yeah, that was different to say the least. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of would like to know what people think of the Firebird and the Medivac. I think the Medivac to me is a given. It's just, as I said like 3 times now, it just adds utility to the ship you put it in.
It's a perfect ship. Like you add it to any ship, but any of the explorers, and you've got especially the Aquila or the 600 or the
myriad of other ships that goes
the Drake one or the Drake one, and you've got those exploration ships suddenly have medical facilities.
But it's the Firebird that I want to know the most about. Like, if you are not a Raven owner, does that actually speak to you? Like, does that enough to suppress your kind of Raven urges, so to speak? And I don't know. I look at it as a Raven owner, and I'm not even half interested in it at all. But yeah, I don't know. I just like to know what people think, because it feels like we're reworking the Saber and Raven, so let's take the opportunity to also make a whole nother ship that just happens to be along those lines type of thing. That's what it feels like anyway.
I think the silhouette is certainly closer to a Raven than it is to the standard Saber. So if the desire of people is for that silhouette of a Raven, I think it does speak to that. But I think part of the reason people want the Raven is not necessarily because of that uniqueness, but because A, it's hard to get, and B, of what gameplay it offers. And I don't think it offers that gameplay. It offers a look, but that's about it. So,
all right.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what people think.
Yeah. All right. With that, then, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone at the end of the video that went extra mile on Patreon. With that, he has been Algared.
And he has been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.